I'm here with Aaron Brown, one of Canada's best sprinters ever, one of the few men to go sub 10 in the 100 meters and sub 20 in the 200 meters. A very important part of Canada's 4x1, and you were on that 2022 team that won the World Championships in the 4x1, beating out USA's, and one of the few people that had a successful youth career, successful college career, and now a successful 10 years now professional career. You're one of the most outspoken people on the social media about what track and field needs to improve, the business side of it. What makes you talk about some of the stuff that people are scared to talk about?
I'm looking for opportunities, right? Yeah. So I want to leave the sport bigger and better than when I came into it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've been in the game so long, and I've seen a lot of people in the game come in and out of it. A lot of people who are really fast and talented didn't get the same opportunities because the infrastructure wasn't there.
Yeah.
So the only way it's going to change is if people actually speak out about it. And we don't have a union in track and field. So it starts with us as individuals kind of shining light on it and saying like, hey, a lot of people are struggling. We could be a lot better as a business as if we actually paid attention to this and did something to, grow the business.
Exactly. I mean, NFL have their Players Association, same thing with the NBA. They have the Players Association. Track and field, that's the transition and the transparency is not there. You graduated USC in 2014. You went pro. What are the steps they need to take to go pro, to get an agent, to sign a shoe contract and start getting into meets?
I created a program called the Pro Sprinter Blueprint where I'm teaching young college athletes and athletes who are out of college how they can learn how to go pro. Yeah. Because I feel like that knowledge is just not out there. Yeah. We all know if you want to go to the NFL, you declare for the draft. If you want to go to the NBA, you declare for the draft. But in track and field, it's kind of like open-ended. Yeah. And nobody really knows what to do. It's just like word of mouth. Obviously, getting your name out there will spread your name and notoriety. Yeah. And then from there, once agents contact you, that's when you kind of vet them and see who you want to go with. And then they're the ones that talk and negotiate the shoe contracts and all that stuff and get you lanes in those pro meets.
True. Okay, that makes sense. So for reference, what did you run out of college so somebody can know what can they aim for to get a contract? Because, I mean, if you guys don't know, signed by Nike, as you can tell by the Nike shirt right now. What did you run out of college to earn your Nike contract?
So obviously the landscape's a lot different than it was back when I was coming out. Yeah. I was runner-up in the 200 my senior year, and I was also third in the 100. And I ran 10:05 in the 100, 10:01 wind dated, and 20.02 wind dated, and 2016 legal. Okay. So back then, that was actually the Canadian record. Okay. And like I said, I was runner-up in the 2, so I feel like if you finish in the top 3, maybe top 5 at NCAAs, you're going to get some pretty good looks. But obviously, the bar's changed, and like cats these days, they're running like 9.99, getting 5th. So, the bar's changed because the world gets faster, but that's the evolution of the sport.
That's true. That makes sense. So everybody, the 20.0 is not going to do it for you anymore. You need that 19. So, I mean, I know a lot of young athletes, they look up and they see somebody like you running so consistent. They want to know what do they have to do to get to that level. At the last Olympics in Tokyo, you finished 6th in the 200. What are you doing different this year to make sure that you're one of the guys with the medals around your neck? I mean, there's the Noah Lyles of the world, there's Arian Knighton, there's Degrassi, your countryman, and there's Kenny Benerick that you train with it. So there's all those competition out there. What are you doing to make sure that you're on the podium now?
Right, like I'm always tweaking my program. I'm doing things different off the track. I completely changed my nutrition this year. I got a new mental performance coach that I'm working with. Okay. I'm going to be changing my schedule. Normally I'm one of those guys that goes to all the meets and I'm traveling around and racking up my points with Diamond League stuff. Yeah, but this year I'm going to completely go all in on Paris and kind of stay local and only compete sparingly. I'm always one of the guys that wants to grow the sport and we have a problem where people don't line up.
Yeah, that's true.
That's because they know where to put their money in.
All effort,
that's all in the Olympic Games. So this is going to be my 4th, and I want to make sure it's the best one. So I'm going to completely make sure I'm rested and recovered. I changed some stuff in my technique and training. Working with my coach to build a plan. Yeah. And I've been tweaking every year, and I feel like it's going to come together.
So this is going to be a year that we should look out for Aaron Brown, right?
This is the year, man.
I mean, one of the things that's most impressive about you to me is that 10 years you've been in this game. I mean, I talked to you just earlier about NFL 10-year vets, NBA 10-year vets. They get a lot of respect, but somebody like you deserve a lot more respect. You've been in the game for a long time. But what's more impressive also is that you were doing it from a junior. You were a high-level junior. You got recruited to one of the best colleges in USC in California, and now you're signed to Nike. That's a dream career that you're having. What's 3 things that you think you did right throughout your whole career that somebody else who's watching this now who wants a 10-year professional career?
It's all about having the right people on your team. Okay. That's first and foremost. True. I wouldn't be in the position I'm at now if I didn't have the right people kind of guiding me and telling me where to go. Another thing is being humble.
Yeah.
There's a lot of arrogant people out there, and when you're arrogant, you think you know it all, you stop growing. People can help navigate you in your career if you just are willing to listen and humble yourself and say like, okay, I don't have all the answers yet. Let me ask this person where I should go. And then it's just being professional. A lot of people will be a pro, but they won't live like a pro.
Yeah.
Like they want to live like a pro when they're on the track and ready to race and make money and go for the medals and run fast. But when they're off the track, they're not doing the things to recover. They're not doing the things to prime their body, right? So if you're not sleeping right, eating right, recovering right, taking care of your mentals, all that stuff, like preparing yourself like a professional and approaching it like this is your career, this is your moneymaker, then it's just not going to pay you back.
I definitely want to touch on that mental part. It seems like it's one of the biggest differences that you're making this year. What was the mindset to start focusing more on your mental health?
Man, track and field, like pro track and field is tough. Yeah. So all pro sports, anything you do that's elite is going to be tough. Because at the highest level, it's very small margins of what separates you from being at the top and not being in a position where you want to be. That can be frustrating. Like being at so close and then not getting it, it'll wear on you. Yeah. And you need to be mentally resilient in order to get back and say, all right, I didn't get it done. What can I do to change? And how can I give myself the confidence to go back out there? Yeah. Like you said, you're naming names earlier. People, there's more people than that. You know, you got your Zarnells, you got your Tobogos.
Exactly.
Like, you can go down the list of all kinds of people, but somehow you have to have the confidence to say, I'm going to get it done. I can line up with those people and I can win. Yeah. And I feel like it's really just believing it. And it starts with like changing how I approached with my training this year and saying like, I'm doing something new. I'm doing the best that I can and I'm maximizing myself and I'm being the most efficient athlete I can be. And I believe in myself, my talent, and when I line up, I'm going to believe that I've done enough to get it done.
So I got to ask this question. Who's one of the best artists to come out of Canada?
I mean, we got a lot. You know, obviously, Drake is like probably the easiest one I could say. Yeah. Put the city on the map. But even beyond that, The Weeknd, he actually went to my high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he's a Panther alum.
Nice.
So
was he on the track team though?
No.
Couldn't imagine The Weeknd running track.
No, he was skipping class, doing drugs and stuff. But.
Okay, so he's really about what he sings about.
yeah, he's about that life. You know, we got Justin Bieber too. Party Next Door.
Oh yeah.
Tory Lanez. Nav. We got a lot of people. Celine Dion.
That's my favorite right there.
So yeah, we got a lot of people coming out of Canada.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think Canada has a big influence on American culture, but at the end of the day, it's still different. I mean, you're still an immigrant in this country, like I am, and a lot of athletes. What some advice do you give to the new immigrant athletes who are coming in, who are stepping away from home and starting that college career, starting that professional career? What's some advice that you have as somebody who's been doing it for so long?
I'd say network. Like you come in here, like when I first went to USC, I didn't really know anybody. Yeah. I did a visit, and so I met a couple of people on the team, but I didn't really know them. I mean, I was there for like a day or two. But when I got there, I just networked, and I found some people that I can connect with that would help me guide myself and navigate being a freshman on campus. Yeah, and it's the same thing when you're a professional. Like you want to have people that are in your corner that you can rely on. You don't just try to do it all yourself. People have the connections. People want to help you. People want to get you to where you want to go and help you be successful. But you got to approach them, right? Yeah. So you can't just be in your own shell and think that you're going to thrive. You got to be willing to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and network with some people, talk to them, like say, hey, I'm a foreigner. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm here, as a pro athlete. And I want to see like, hey, who's the best chiro in town? Who's the best massage therapist? What's a good training group? What do you guys do for fun? Where are the places I can go eat?
Yeah,
if you're from Jamaica, is there any good Jamaican restaurants around here?
Probably not.
Yeah. Just find your comfort zone, right? Yeah. Make it a little more comfort by just networking and getting your name out there.
You're someone with a family. You have your wife. You have a couple kids, right?
2 kids, yeah.
2 kids now. How does that work with your track and field schedule? Work with your track and field life? How do you gel all that together?
It's busy, I'm not gonna lie, but it's just prioritizing.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you care enough about something, you're gonna find the time to get it done.
Gotcha.
And so I know my career is very important and my family is very important. And so sometimes my social life takes a hit, but this is the sacrifice I'm willing to make. And
of course.
I've been doing this for a long time. Even going back to college, like my freshman year, I had the most fun I ever had.
Yeah.
But my performance
exactly.
But as my performance started to go, my social life had to come down. Because you got to prioritize sleep. You gotta prioritize your training and stuff like that. So there's not much time for the shenanigans, right? So right now it's just track, family, just kind of keeping that sweet spot, that zone, until we get to Paris. And after that, I'll know, okay, I did everything possible. And then I can let loose and, go in the off season and have fun.
I'm going to give you this scenario. So let's say you're an athlete, you just signed your professional contract. You got $100,000 sign-on bonus. How are you going to distribute that $100,000 in that first year to make sure you're successful? I want to make sure people know what's most important. Where should you put your money in terms of investing in yourself and your future? So I want to tell me how you cut up that 100K, what activity, and how much you put in towards it.
Well, off the rip, I would take half of that and put it in savings.
Okay.
Just so I have like an emergency fund. As a tip, on the pro circuit, it doesn't come right away. Right? So when you run a race and let's say you made $10,000, you're not getting that the next day. It's going to take a couple months. So I would have some money just in case, because you can't pay your rent with IOUs.
Yep.
So you're not going to catch that. So I would have some money just in case, and if ever I need to dip into that, at least I have a good amount of money to go into.
Yeah.
And then also taxes. This isn't, you're getting paid gross amounts, and you're gonna have to pay taxes to the government. They're gonna want their cut.
So of the 100K, so 50K into savings.
Yep.
Were we looking at 20K for taxes? 30?
I think 20. Yeah, I'd start with 20, and then when you start making prize money and stuff, I'd take some of that as well.
Okay, so we got 70 out the way. 30 now. What are you doing with the last 30?
30, that's when you're going to do with your living expenses.
Okay.
So I think you could live, depending on what city you're in, obviously it's going to change.
Yeah.
So when I first moved here, my rent was only $1,050 a month. So I could get away with like living dirt cheap, right? Like you can still get your good food and stuff like that if you know where to shop and take care of yourself. But I think that last 30K you can use for living life.
So you're gonna pay your rent, get your groceries, whatever you need to get your day by day.
Your internet bill, a little bit of fun here and there. Don't go too crazy.
Crazy.
We're not buying, Gucci and Louis your first year. Just wait, like all that stuff will be there, right? Like don't go and cut up a check like you're in the NBA. Like you got to be smart your first year. You want to have a good foundation to build off for the rest of the years. Because if I started off and I was in the negatives after my first year, I'm always paying catch up.
Exactly.
Now, as soon as I get money, I got to pay it to something else. But you want to start off with a solid foundation. Like if you're coming from a NCAA school where everything was paid for and you're starting from zero, you get that first check, save that.
Yeah.
So now you have a good foundation to roll off. So now if let's say you're injured and you can't run as much, or you just want to prime your body and your coach says, hey, let's train, let's not race as much, and you're not making money actively at that time, you don't have to worry about that. You have money already saved up as a nest egg. And then as the years go on and you've lasted in the game, now you already have your foundation built. So everything that you're starting to make is house money. You can start looking into things like, all right, how can I invest this?
Exactly.
I can grow, and then get a house maybe or a car. But you don't want to do that off the rip. You want to build it up.
Yeah, I'm glad they're hearing it from you. You're a 10-year vet. I mean, just being in the game this long, that means that you stayed at an elite level running good. You've been making money and being smart with your money and doing everything that you need to do. So I want people to have better financial literacy. One of the biggest problems in track and field is the transparency around pay. Why do you think people keep the amount that they make so close to chest?
So the shoe sponsors put the NDAs in the contracts. I think help themselves because they know that there's only a certain amount of money for track and field. Yeah. And so in order to kind of rotate that money, they don't want you getting your full worth. Because if everyone's getting their full worth, then they can't sign as many people, right? Another thing is, I think the agents know what your worth is because they talk to each other and they have a good sense of what someone's signing. So they have the knowledge. Yeah. And when they have it and you don't, you need them. So that's kind of to keep them the middleman, right? So if they don't want to like X themselves out and cut themselves out of it, they got to keep it between themselves, keep that knowledge within them so that you have to go to them and say like, is this a good contract or whatever? And if they don't get you a good contract, but they say like, yeah, it's good, how are you going to know, right? Like you don't even know what your worth is. So how are you going to compare apples to apples if you don't know what the next man's making? So I think it's a way to kind of keep the athlete in the dark so that we can't get our worth. And that's something that I'm trying to work out against. Yeah. And I remember when Andre signed, he actually put his contract out there. Like Paul Doyle, I think, was the one that wanted that out there because he wanted to kind of change the game where everyone would
talk about how much they make,
be able to build the market. Because like you see in the NFL, if a quarterback signs for like 50 million, then the next quarterback is happy because they're like, oh, he just upped the market. But in track, if someone signs for, let's just say 50,000, and the budget is 100,000. Now that 50,000 is gone, and so there's only 50,000 left for everyone else to get off. So in track, we're kind of like crabs in a barrel fighting against each other. But in the NFL and NBA, they're working together. Like they just gave us more money, and I want to get to the point where like athletes are working together to like raise the cap. But right now, the cap isn't moving, so it's only like it's just get as much as you can, and don't tell the next person, because if someone else knows how much they're getting, they'll be like, well, I beat them, and I'm faster here, and whatever, I deserve it, and they're getting into your pocket.
Exactly. So, another thing that you missed out on 2014, you graduated USC, NIL. What kind of advice do you have now for high school athletes and college athletes, where this is probably the first time they're seeing any type of money?
Arm yourself with as much knowledge as you can. Like a lot of people are going to approach you, and there's going to be opportunities and stuff like that, and it's basically just like being a professional, where if someone comes with like a sponsorship off the track opportunity, you got to vet it and say like, is this a good opportunity for me? Am I getting my full worth here? And know what they're asking for in return. Because sometimes you might sell yourself short just looking at the dollars. If they're offering you $10,000 but they want 20 posts, now you're spending all your time creating content and putting stuff out there, and maybe you're selling yourself short. Like you can get more money for less posts. You want to get your full worth, so don't just accept the dollars and get blinded by that.
You're one of the most consistent person on social media and growing your brand. Why should other athletes do that too?
I started like my social media taking it seriously back in 2018 when like nobody was really doing it. So I've been in this a long time, and I've seen like what works and what doesn't, and like the trends coming along, and now like a lot more people are into it. But I feel like it's just a good opportunity to get people to know who you are. So if you were to think about when you go to the grocery store, right? And you are in the aisle and you see Gatorade versus a random drink. Why are you going to pick the Gatorade? Because you know what it is. It's branding. So if that's a great point. Looks at you and says like, all right, I could choose Noah Lyles or this random athlete. They're going to choose Noah because they know who he is.
That's true.
This is your opportunity to let people know who you are. Explain what you're about so that they know like what they're getting. They don't want unknown commodities. They want to know what they're signing when they're investing their money. What
makes a track athlete truly professional? What's the cutoff?
I say the cutoff is being able to support yourself through track and field. No other means.
Agreed.
So like if you're in it and you love it and you're just doing it post college, but you're not making money, then you're like a hobbyist. This is something fun for you.
That's true.
Like you're gonna have to supplement yourself with something else. Like if you need GoFundMe's and stuff in order to really live your life, or a family relative to front you money, it's not your career. If you're able to support yourself and make enough money from track, then you're a professional.
Yeah, of course. And for all the people who's chasing that dream, it doesn't mean like you won't get there. But as of right now, you're not getting paid. Obviously, the shoe companies are determined that they don't see enough value to pay you an income as yet. So it's definitely a dream that you can continue chasing. But I wouldn't call you a pro, just like you wouldn't call somebody an NFL player because they're playing football. You know what I mean? You have to be in the NFL to be considered a professional. So I definitely want you to name your top 5 all-time men Canadian sprinters.
Top 5. Okay.
And it's okay to include yourself. Look at this man's resume. In the Canadian Championships, I don't believe you've lost since 2018.
Well, I lost my last race in the 200.
That was the last. So you from 2018 to 2023, you were on unbeaten streaks. I mean, in your home country. So you go to Canada and you just put on that cape and you just get around it. So include yourself in that top 5. Of
course, I'm gonna put myself. Throw Andre in there. Donovan Bailey, of course, iconic. I'm gonna put Bruni in there as well. 100-meter record holder. Not a lot of people know that because it's controversial, but I don't care. This is my list. I'm gonna put Ben Johnson, man.
Ben Johnson.
Back in the day, a lot of them were that stuff, and I get it. He got popped and whatever happened. But you just look at what he did, man. Back in the day, you watch that 979 documentary. You can't tell me that wasn't inspiring, especially being a Canadian sprinter. Like he did his thing,
Next thing I want to talk to you about 2022. You guys won that 4x1. Upset over USA. USA won the 100 meters that year. They had a silver medalist and the bronze medalist. It was almost supposed to be a gimme for them. What was that like beating America in 2022?
It started back from Tokyo when we believed we should have won. And then we went out there and did it in Eugene. And it kind of felt like home crowd. Even though it was the US, there was a lot of Canadians in the crowd.
I know, man.
It was so close. So.
It was an electric race. I mean, I loved watching it. I love a good upset, Even though, as you said, it sounds like you guys invested over years. Like this wasn't you came together 2022 and just won it. It was years that build up into it. And I think a lot of countries, they don't get better at the 4x1 because they don't invest in those camps. I know you guys do camps. You go to LSU a few times. When I was at LSU, I used to see a lot of the Canadians come down there and work together, and it paid off. off now. What are some of your big goals for 2024?
Trying to come with as many minutes as possible, you know. So I'm going all in on Paris, and I'm not setting any limits on myself. So anytime I line up, I'm trying to go up for the win, and you know, I'm gonna do the triple again. So that's part of why I tweaked my schedule so I can be fresh and ready to go come Paris. And I'm gonna only be racing local and pick my spots here and there, and just work on being the most efficient, optimized athlete when I get to Paris, and then let it rip.
But thank you for coming through. I'm looking forward to seeing you run for the rest of the year. Looking forward to seeing you at Olympics. Hopefully see you on the podium in Canada. You know, I am Jamaican. Guys don't. Jamaica's going to be on the podium too. But you know, we love Canada. Jamaica and Canada has a great relationship. Aaron knows that. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate it, man.
You, man. And I want to say I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the business side. You know, it's one thing to talk about it, but it's another to get the platform to talk more about it.
Yeah, exactly.
The more people that are getting in the conversation, the better it's going to be. The more people are going to take part, and the more we're going to see change. So it's important for what you're doing in order to spread that. So I commend you for that, and I appreciate the opportunity.
100%. I'm going to continue doing it. So you guys look out for more, and we'll be back.